And we want to welcome those of you joining us from softball. We're here in Princeton, New Jersey at Princeton Stadium for this NCAA Lacrosse college matchup. It's the #1 ranked team in the country, the Syracuse Orange, taking on Princeton. We're just underway here, coming up on the 2-minute mark in this first quarter. Syracuse jumped out to a 2-0 lead, but Princeton has bounced back, and it is now 2-1 with Princeton in possession. Amadon and Thompson scored for Syracuse to open up a 2-0 lead. Then Luke Armour opened the scoring for Princeton, and that is where we stand as we come up on the 2-minute mark here in the football stadium in Princeton. This Syracuse team, #1 in the country, 8-0, but Princeton looking to tie it, and a shot comes on goal, but John Galloway able to make the save. I'm Rob Similker along with Paul Carcaterra here for this regular season matchup between two of the best teams in college lacrosse history, and Syracuse, off a nice setup, is now up 3-1 as number 28, Stephen Keogh, Syracuse's leading scorer, has made it a 3-1 game.
Look at the pass here by Joel White. Creativity at its best. The senior All-American, returning midfielder of the year nationally. He spots his classmate with the bounce pass. And then Keogh, the soft hands, able to handle anything, just cashes in.
So Stephen Keogh, the leading goal scorer for Syracuse, picking up that nice bounce pass from Joel White. Joel White, one of the top middies in the country, and it's now a 3-1 Syracuse lead. And off the faceoff, it's picked up quickly by Princeton. Jason Cunningham, the long stick, getting into the box for the Tigers. Princeton coming in at 2-5 on the year. They have struggled due to injuries to several of their top players, but they are looking for what would really be a season-defining win here at home against this #1 undefeated Syracuse team.
As mentioned earlier, the walking wounded for the Princeton Tigers. Their ace attackman, Jack McBride, out for the year with a groin injury. Senior midfielder Tyler Money with the wrist injury. Maybe the biggest loss of them all, Mike Janachuk in the fall.
So an uncharacteristic struggle for this Syracuse team. Of course, one of the great programs in the history of college lacrosse. This rivalry has so many chapters to it, as Syracuse has had the best of it lately. A shot there from Princeton was deflected wide, and now as we come up on 40 seconds, Syracuse quickly clears it through midfield, and they'll try to set up for one last shot here in the first quarter. This is Keogh, who we just saw score. Feeding it off, and a shot from out top from the long pole of Matt Harris was stopped by Fiorito. Now quickly back comes Princeton. Not much time to work with. Shanley Tucker getting it over, and another shot. Boy, the long sticks both sides here. Not afraid to take shots. That was number 3, John Cunningham, with that shot. Tough to do with the long pole. 6 seconds left. Princeton will bring it back in.
We saw White on the other end. John Cunningham, top 5 defensive midfielder in the country. This is the deepest I ever remember the position being. Guys like Joel White, Brian Karalunas from Villanova, CJ Costabile from Duke. Cunningham certainly amongst them.
Quick shot wide, and that's it. No goal on the rebound. So that is the end of our first quarter here in Princeton. The #1 team in the country, Syracuse, with a 3-1 lead on the road here against Princeton. Back with the second quarter coming up. And welcome back to Old Spice College Lacrosse here on ESPNU. We are at Princeton Stadium here in Princeton, New Jersey, as the #1 team in the country, the Syracuse Orange, leading Princeton by a score of 3-1 as we get set to start this second quarter. John Desko watching his Orange, the #1 team in the country, from the sideline. And let's take a look at the scoring so far today, Paul.
The Orange came out blazing. The senior Amadon sniped that one righty. Then fed classmate Jeremy Thompson inside for the second goal. The dynamic freshman Tommy Schreiber spotting Luke Armour. Look at the crafty play. 2 seniors hooking up again. Joel White to the finisher, Stephen Keogh.
And let's take a look at our Warrior Impact players, brought to you by Warrior. And this is one of the better goalie matchups you will get in the country this year. John Galloway, who has just recently become the all-time winningest goalie in the history of NCAA college lacrosse, 52 career wins. And Tyler Fiorito for Princeton, a 4-year starter. 2-5, but the record really doesn't tell the story.
Well, Galloway has that it factor, mental edge, communication, clearing, stopping ability. He has it all. Fiorito, though, having a great season his junior year. When you think about it, 2-5 on the year, the Tigers. He's been a bright spot. It's been his best season to date statistically, top 10 in save percentage and goals against.
All right, Paul, we'll get set to face off this second quarter. Players come in from the wings, and it's picked up by Syracuse, now moving from our left to right. A quick shot off the face-off from Jeremy Thompson. Thompson's already got a goal today. That one was too high, and it was backed up by Syracuse.
Thompson, one of the better offensive midfielders for Syracuse, so this coaching staff kind of has to juggle the way they use him. If you put him on the face-off X too much, you're going to beat him up, but their face-off woes are certainly prevalent to date. They need him there as well.
Face-off's one of the few things that John Desko does not feel good about with this Syracuse team right now, and Coach Desko doesn't have a lot to worry about in terms of the way his team's played so far. But Paul, what are some of the keys for this game for the Orange?
Well, I think Syracuse, you look at spurts of greatness this season. I thought they were huge in that first quarter against Duke, but mid-game let-ups have really plagued this team down the stretch, making fourth quarters really tight, and then limit the turnovers. There was back-to-back weeks against Hopkins and Villanova. They only scored 5 goals. You look at the turnovers in those games. Huge, 18 against Villanova.
Syracuse working it around the perimeter. They are the #1 team in the country, have been since the opening season poll came out. The pass deflected and picked off by Princeton. A nice play. And a quick clear for Princeton. Excellent work by John Cunningham, #3. We've called his name a couple of times already today, and he broke up the pass and then cleared it all the way through himself. So a big play for the Tigers, and there was a shot resulting right on Galloway. Galloway able to make the save. But the clear fails, and Princeton will come right back with it. Riley Connor bringing it in. He gets knocked down and then chopped, and that's going to be a penalty. A pretty clear one there, as Connor Riley for Princeton was knocked down and then hacked at by Javon Miller. And it's going to be a man-up chance here for Princeton.
Don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this one out. You get him on the push, the slash.
1 minute for a slash.
You got him on that second one, a slash, 1 minute.
You see Javon Miller there talking to his coach. I'm not sure what exactly what defense Javon has on that one, but he will serve a minute. So a chance here for the Tigers to cut this lead to 1. A full minute man up here for Princeton. This offense that has struggled so much could really use an opportunity like this. See the man up, 26.9%. That is good for 38th in the NCAA. One of the reasons Princeton has struggled so much to score.
Want to be up around 35%.
Schreiber, a shot. He had a good look, but wasn't too close, and he sent it wide, but it was backed up by Princeton.
Some of these injuries, too. It's like the double whammy. You force a player who's not accustomed to taking that leadership role on offense.
Now an odd angle shot from Forrest Sonnenfeld. Tough angle there, again backed up by Princeton. 11 shots for Princeton so far, 9 for Syracuse. So the Tigers have gotten some shots since the early going. They did not have the ball for most of the first 7 or 8 minutes of this game, but they have started to level things off a little bit here. Tom Schreiber, quick work, another shot from Sonnenfeld, again going wide. So Forrest Sonnenfeld, a shooter. He's got 10 goals in the year, no assists, and he's been firing from that near wing.
Shooter and a matchup nightmare physically. Sonnenfeld, by far the biggest player on the field. He just likes to lower that shoulder. Saw this kid play in high school, and no one could match up with him at the high school ranks. College teams physically having their challenges as well.
Man up is over. We're back to even strength here. So Princeton unable to convert on that 1 minute man up opportunity, and we are back to even strength here in the second quarter. Ball hits the ground. Now we're going to get a ground ball battle, and it's going to be Syracuse able to pick it up on the far side. Joel White, their outstanding long stick midi, will start this clear for Syracuse. Lobs it across the field for David Hamlin, and Syracuse will bring it through midfield.
Hamlin filling in for John Lade. Lade hurt his ankle a week ago. He was in warm-ups. He was moving well, but I think the coaching staff being a little bit conservative with the first-team All-American. A huge matchup looms on Tuesday night when Cornell comes into the Dome, and Rob Pennell, the front-runner for the Tworton Trophy, given to college lacrosse's best player. That Lade-Pennell matchup, huge.
That'll be coming up Tuesday night in upstate New York. Always great regional rivals. Cornell and Syracuse, they play just about every year. Syracuse looking to keep the perfect record intact here on the road, and they've got possession with a 2-goal lead. This is Tommy Palasek. Steve Ianzino dodging on the right side, draws two defenders and dumps it off to Jojo Marasco. Marasco got that long pole on him, looking for some space. Now a quick shot going wide, out of bounds. This Syracuse team, they had an uncharacteristic down period offensively. They scored only 5 goals in 2 straight games before finding their offense last week against Duke. And ESPNU's coverage of college baseball is going to continue later tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern time. LSU will take on SEC rival Arkansas, and Sunday at 5 Eastern, UC Irvine will take on Cal State Fullerton. College baseball on ESPNU Saturday and Sunday.
You mentioned the back-to-back 5-goal victories, nonetheless. The Syracuse team scoring 5 goals. You don't expect them to win, but against Johns Hopkins and Villanova, back-to-back weeks, 5-4 outings, the first time since the 1930s. The Syracuse team scored 5 goals back-to-back and won, so go back into the history books. But they found a way. Great senior leadership, defense, John Galloway in net. You mentioned John Lade earlier. His play this season has just been incredible. Expect him Tuesday night. The jersey blanket out of Randolph, New Jersey, just blankets everyone's top player. I can't wait to that matchup Tuesday against Rob Pennell.
Meanwhile, for Princeton at 2-5, trying to get a big win, and they get a big goal here to make it a 3-2 game, and then a flag comes in after the shot. The goal is good, and we've got a 1-goal game. It was Chris McBride working his way in from the right wing. 7th goal of the year for McBride.
And a great look at this move by Chris McBride. So crafty and smooth, the senior captain. He's had some monster games during his career. So smooth around that goal line extended. Coach Bates likes to call him a sniper. Got hit late there after the goal was scored. Will be man up for Princeton. But I mentioned that double whammy. You look at these injuries and how it affects not just the player who's out, but another player. Now McBride, a senior, used to getting the 2nd or 3rd best defender, now attracts the top defender on the opposition, where his cousin Jack McBride used to get that. So it's harder for him to operate. So these injuries are much more than just that one player who's on the sideline.
Meanwhile, Paul, a 1-minute man up now for Princeton, so a chance for them to tie this game right off of that goal from McBride. It was an illegal body check call against Thomas Guadagnolo, and a 1-minute man up here for Princeton. They're 0 for 1. We just talked about their struggles in the man up offense this year. And a shot and the save made. It was actually probably going wide. The rebound comes right back to Princeton, and now it's put on the ground, and another flag coming up. we get a stoppage, and we're going to get another penalty call here. And Syracuse is going to get possession. 30-second technical going against Princeton.
Mental mistakes for Princeton. You're in a 3-2 ball game. A sloppy pass that gets picked off, and then a penalty to both. Not good for the Tigers. Your man advantage. You're down by a goal. You got to press this defense. Get a good scoring opportunity, man advantage. Now you're man down. This could be the type of play that turns the game around.
Yeah, big chance there, just going right by the wayside for Princeton. There you see Chris Bates, Princeton's head coach, second year at Princeton, and clearly not happy with that turn of events as a 1-minute man up turns into what's going to be a very short man down. We'll play even for the next 15 seconds, and Syracuse will have a short man up opportunity. This Tiger team, so undermanned because of all the injuries, just cannot afford to make really any mistakes against this #1 Syracuse team if they're going to have a chance. Pretty pass and a score. Oh, a beautiful pass to Keogh. And he nets the easy point-blank goal past Fiorito. It's 4-2.
Jeremy Thompson putting together a nice first half. You look at 4 and Orange just spotting up with the right hand. No need to leave Stephen Keogh. Know your slides, Princeton. If you're going to slide, do not leave 28 naked. This kid finishes with the best of them. One of the best crease attackmen ever to play at Syracuse. You have to know your slide package. He's not the guy you're going from.
Too easy there for Syracuse. Keogh second of the game. And it's a 4-2 Syracuse lead. And now a face-off violation going against Princeton. And so the Orange will get it right back.
Well, that mental mistake on the man advantage for Princeton. 3-2, your man up. Sloppy pass, you penalized. Syracuse goes man advantage and cashes in with Keogh.
There's little turning points in a game like this. They're trying to pull off an upset at home, but Princeton is still only down 2, which is, I think it'd be fair to say, after that quick start Syracuse got off to, they scored the first 2 goals of the game really in the first 3 minutes or so. And so I imagine that Princeton can't feel too badly about being in this spot right now with 7 minutes to go in the quarter, but they've got to settle down on defense here, and they are back on defense right now. Devon Miller makes a move and then quickly draws 2 defenders, and a timeout is going to be called by Syracuse. So Syracuse takes the first timeout of this first half, and John Desko's #1 team in the country, a 4-2 lead on the road at Princeton. We'll be back after this.
Report an ACC matchup so good it needed overtime. We'll let you know what happened in extra time with North Carolina and Virginia. UMBC absolutely blowing up in the second period, and also a Warrior Pro session coming up on the Warrior Halftime Report. Rob, back to you.
All right, thank you, Lowell. We're back here in Princeton as Syracuse, the #1 team in the country, a 4-2 lead in the second quarter over Princeton. And we've talked about the great history between these two programs. Syracuse leads the all-time series 17-9. They've had the best of it lately, winning 6 of 8. But so many of those meetings, Paul, have been in big spots, 10 of them in the NCAA tournament.
You look at 1992 when Princeton won the school's first national title. That's when this series really started heating up. Scott Bacigalupo and Cage, Andy Moe with the game-winning goal. That changed Ivy League lacrosse. Bill Tierney arrived in 92, then won in 94, and then they had that three-peat, Princeton, 96, 97, 98. And then Syracuse was the power in the early 2000s, but Princeton won that 2001 national title. So back and forth in the last 20 years, incredible matchups.
One thing different about that matchup, a new face on the Princeton sideline, Chris Bates in his second year as head coach at Princeton. So used to seeing Bill Tierney roaming that Tiger sideline against John Desko. I think, Paul, another thing that's made this rivalry interesting is the contrasting styles that these two programs have traditionally had. Syracuse and the athletic, up-tempo, run-and-gun lacrosse. Princeton historically much more of a conservative offensive team, low scoring.
And Coach Tierney, during his days at Princeton, was a mastermind defensively with the quick slides, and so hard to figure out his packages, and just drove opposing teams offensively nuts. But Coach Bates wants to get up and down eventually. He wants that to be his signature at Princeton. Just can't do it right now with all these injuries.
Syracuse wearing the road orange and the throwback blue shorts. They've come out with a lot of different uniforms over the course of this year, a lot of throwback jerseys, and this is the latest combination for the orange on the road.
Spoke to equipment manager Kyle Federley. Mentioned Syracuse lacrosse is like the Oregon in football, all these different combinations.
Yeah.
I think the kids love it.
Something to talk about, and marketing as well. And we get a call, a whistle away from the ball. I did not see the call, but it goes right against Syracuse, and so Princeton's going to quickly clear it through midfield.
I think on the backside, a little interference.
And a timeout's going to be called by Princeton. So the Tigers getting the turnover there, and they'll quickly call a timeout. We talked about the history between these two teams, and can't forget about, of course, the time they met for the all-time title, the 0-1 championship game. We'll have a look back at that game coming up. Seconds to sit, winding down, shot coming in, there's the game. Prager wins it all for Princeton and Tierney. They are the Lacrosse Division I champions of 2001. And a fond memory here in Princeton, that 0-1 championship game. Princeton was number 2, Syracuse was number 1, and they won it 10-9 in overtime. The last time Princeton won a national championship.
And Syracuse thumped them the year prior in 2000, a score of 13-7. That 2001 team just had tremendous chemistry, led in goal by Trevor Tierney, Coach Bill Tierney's son. Ryan Mollett on defense, one of the game's best. He had Matt Strebel, who's an all-time great, a Hall of Famer to be. And that game winner by B.J. Prager, just an incredible crease presence, being fed by then a freshman, Ryan Boyle, who had an illustrious career here at Princeton.
John Desko, of course, remembers that one well from his Syracuse sideline. And now a turnover here by Princeton. They can't control it off the timeout, so they call a timeout and quickly lose it. Imagine with 5 minutes left, Princeton probably was looking to hold it for a while there. Instead, they lose it, but now they force a turnover right back on the other end. As the ball hits the ground, we get a battle for it. Number 41, Ellis Long in there, but Syracuse comes away. Now unsettled chance, a shot and a score. Off the turnover, number 14, Tommy Palasek walks right in on goal, and it's 5-2 Orange.
Tommy Palasek with a big goal. Off of an unsettled situation. Syracuse so strong in the unsettled. The thing I like about this goal, Palasek stays high with his head and the head of his lacrosse stick. Gets Fiorito thinking high the whole time and just sticks it low. Good change of levels by Tommy Palasek.
Unassisted goal for Palasek, and it's 5-2. And you saw a couple of quick turnovers there, and Princeton was really just caught out of position as they were trying to clear it, and instead they gave it right back to the Orange in their own end. Now on the face-off, the ball comes right into the box on the Syracuse end of the field. It goes out of bounds, and it was last touched by Princeton. So Syracuse, with a 3-goal lead, will get it back. And a long pass up to midfield here by John Galloway does not connect, and so that clear fails. And Princeton's going to come right back with it. Galloway tried the long pass there on the bounce, but that did not work out.
He has the green light to do that in this defensive system, and when they clear the ball, Galloway is a big part of their transition game. You look at Princeton's keys, they have to prevent Syracuse runs. Syracuse typically loves to get up and down. They can't let this 4-2 game or 5-2 game turn into a 7-2 game. Keep it tight early and emphasize half-field lacrosse. With all of these injuries, depth certainly a question for the Tigers. They can't run with Syracuse, so cutting in field in half is a must.
And a chance in front. Shot was deflected wide. Number 16 for Princeton had a chance there, Luke Armour, but he could not get the shot on goal. And now Syracuse able to pick it up in the corner, and they'll clear it. Ball comes to Javon Miller, and he'll bring it right into the box. Miller's going to fire a shot, odd angle shot there. Probably not one of the better looks there for Miller. But it's backed up by Syracuse, and Princeton's going to take a timeout. So timeout called by the Tigers. 3 minutes to go here in this first half. Chris Bates and his Tigers trying to stay close to this undefeated Syracuse team at home. Syracuse, it got close, but the Orange have answered with 2 straight goals. Keogh, point blank. And then a shot, odd angle, and it's a 5-2 game. And welcome back to Princeton. 5-2, the #1 team in the country. Syracuse leading the Princeton Tigers. And ESPNU's coverage of Old Spice College Lacrosse is going to continue next Saturday at noon Eastern. It's going to be number 9 Virginia taking on number 4 Duke in an ACC matchup. And then at 8 o'clock Eastern, number 3 Johns Hopkins. They are hot right now, and they will take on the number 5 team in the country, Maryland. Old Spice College Lacrosse on ESPNU next Saturday. That's a good-looking doubleheader next Saturday. Always a great ACC matchup between Virginia and Duke, and then Johns Hopkins playing as well as just about anyone other than Syracuse and Notre Dame right now.
You look at Hopkins, the baby Blue Jays. 8 out of their 10 starters, freshmen or sophomores, and they're certainly starting to grow and make some plays all over the field. I love their defense. Their goaltender, Pierce Bassett, blanketed on the defensive end by Tucker Durkin and Jack Riley, the freshman. What a physical beast he's been like, and Chris Leitner, and then John Rannigan at the midfield, playing as well as any midfielder in all of college lacrosse. They're deeper now, too. They're faster than they've been in years past. And that Maryland game next Saturday night, I'll be down in College Park expecting a big crowd. It's a monster game.
I think it's fair to say when you talk about Notre Dame that they have really arrived as one of the top programs in college lacrosse. Of course, they made that great run late last year all the way to the final weekend of the college lacrosse season, and they are the only other undefeated team in the country right now besides this Syracuse team that we are watching right here with 2:30 to go at Princeton.
April 30th up in the Carrier Dome. It could be 1 versus 2. Huge Big East championship implications, seedings for the NCAA tournament. Syracuse, Notre Dame.
Syracuse has not lost a game in the Big East yet. It's only the second year of Big East play in the sport of lacrosse, but Syracuse 8-0 all-time in Big East play. So that might be a test for them if they can keep that Big East dominance going early in that league's history.
Well, that will be a test for sure. You look at Notre Dame, their defense is incredible. Just click on all cylinders, emphasizing team defense, communication. Their goaltender, John Kemp, has been fabulous in his sophomore campaign, and their attack is growing up.
Shot from the side angle here, going wide. Did not get on goal as Steve Ianzino fired that one past Galloway. And on the Warrior halftime report, Warrior Pro Sessions. Quint Kesnick will take you through positional attributes, skills you need to be good at different positions in lacrosse. Stats and highlights coming up as well at halftime. Timeout on the field, and minute 33 to go. Syracuse takes the timeout. John Desko, he's had a few words with the officials the last few minutes. You see him out continuing to make his case. His team will have possession coming out of this timeout. And meanwhile, the second annual ESPNU Warrior Lacrosse Classic is going to return to New England Saturday, April 23rd at Rentschler Field in East Hartford, Connecticut. Doubleheader matchups will include the number 16 ranked UMass against number 8 Hofstra, and then Rutgers will take on this top-ranked Syracuse team. Action will start at 3 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPNU. You can also get your tickets as well for that matchup. And John Desko still talking to the officials. You know, don't normally see Coach Desko get on the officials for this long, but he's been out there having a lengthy conversation with the officials in this game, Paul.
Well, it started a few series ago with that interference call. Princeton was able to gain possession. He wasn't happy there, and when you're a coach and you feel like you lost a call and then another one happens, just compiles, you get after the refs. Make your presence felt. I've yet to see a ref change a call, but always works when you keep on grinding at the refs. Maybe later on you get a call to even things out, but he's certainly not happy.
It absolutely makes a difference, especially when you're on the road. And you got to speak up for yourself because there aren't a lot of folks in the crowd to speak up for you. So coming up on the 1 minute mark here. Both teams out of timeout, so we'll play to the conclusion of this quarter. Syracuse in possession.
Looks like Princeton's in a zone, switching it up a little bit out of their man-to-man defense. Orange will have to counter with quick ball movement, press at the perimeters.
Von Miller had to stretch to grab that pass, tried to send it in front, but the pass misconnects, picked up, a hit put on, and that's going to be a penalty called against Princeton. So Chad Wiedmeyer came over, used the body to knock Tim Desko off the ball, and he's going to be called for the body check here. Syracuse will get a man up to finish this first half.
Looks like a push with possession. That's a good call. Tim Desko certainly had the ball on his stick.
1 minute to the head. Full time, sir.
Actually looked like a push at first, but the ref calling an illegal body check. All refs focusing so much attention on the head area this year. It's a point of concern. So, and when in doubt, they're going to go to the head.
Yeah, I think given the emphasis on that right now, that was a good call because you saw Wiedmeyer come in and he really came in leading with his head a little bit and went up high on Desko. And you could see the shot really definitely had an impact on Desko. He was down for a bit. So a 1 minute man up. This would carry over into the second half if Syracuse does not score in the next 41 seconds.
Now, 2-3 years ago, just a 30-second push with possession. But because of this emphasis to the head area, refs are changing the way they're calling the games. No question about it.
And a call away from the ball is going to take it away from Syracuse. An interference call, an offsides call actually, goes against Syracuse, and so Princeton is going to get it right back, and that's going to help them kill off the rest of this second quarter. Let's see if they can get a shot off a man down here before we go to the locker rooms. I think they'll be content to take it out to midfield here and kill off the last 5 seconds.
You want to kill the penalty. Princeton now will have the ball coming out into the second half.
That's exactly right. You get possession held over in the case of a man down. So nice job by Princeton keeping possession there, and they'll come back a man down. We talked about the goalies a lot in this game, both of them with 3 saves so far in this game, John Galloway and Tyler Fiorito. So Syracuse, undefeated #1 team in the country. They are on the lead here, on the road against Princeton. We'll send it now to the studio, and we'll see you with the second half in just a few. Welcome back. It's halftime here at Princeton Stadium between the top-ranked Syracuse Orange and the Princeton Tigers. Let's now send it to Quint Kesenick with this week's Warrior Pro session on positional attributes.
This halftime report is presented by Warrior. All hail. And now, a Warrior Pro session with Quint Kesenick.
Lacrosse players come in all shapes and sizes. Different positions require different skill sets. We'll start with Matt Danowski, who's an attackman. Matt, what was one skill that has allowed you to be so successful?
For me, I think the really mental part of my game has really helped me become, a complete player. I think reading the defenses, seeing one play ahead, and then adjusting and adapting to the defense as the game changes.
A cerebral approach. Ned, you're an attackman. What does it compare in other sports, your role as an attackman?
The position that would jump to mind is definitely quarterback. Being behind at X, me specifically, my position, being behind at X, having to read the play, read the defense, and make decisions before it happens. I would have to, definitely compare to being a quarterback.
Jeff Snyder is a midfielder and a face-off man. What's the biggest physical challenge that you face in your role?
Physically being in shape, being ready to go, at the same time being consistent. You know, going out there and winning the ball for your team is important, both to keep the ball out of the opposing offense's hands and give your defense a break at the same time, controlling momentum, either creating or stopping it.
Ken Clausen plays defense. What is an ideal physical attribute for a defender?
Well, the first thing you're going to hear college coaches say is that as a defender, you need to have quick feet. Defense is much like a cornerback or a free safety in football. You're going to be reacting, be on your toes a lot to what the offense is doing. So having quick feet is definitely a necessary attribute as a defenseman.
Jesse Schwartzman is a goalie. Jesse, where does your skill set fall in comparison to these guys? What's different about being a goalie?
A lot of different things, but I think because you have 100-mile-an-hour balls coming at you and you have to save them with your stick, I think the hand-eye coordination is by far my best attribute.
There are certain attributes that are unique to positions, and there are certain that are shared by all lacrosse players.
And welcome back to Old Spice College Lacrosse on ESPNU. We are here in Princeton, New Jersey. A nice crowd on hand at Princeton Stadium. And the #1 team in the country, the Syracuse Orange, on the road with a 5-2 lead over the Princeton Tigers. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Princeton. I'm Rob Simmelker, along with Paul Carcaterra. And, Paul, this was a game that Syracuse really thought they would have a pretty good handle on. This Princeton team has been struggling coming in, but Princeton's still within striking distance here. What do they need to do to actually get back and tie this game?
Princeton's within striking distance, and quite frankly, they haven't played well. Some mental mistakes, some turnovers, costly penalties. I think Princeton, though, needs to push in the second half. Although depth is an issue, they need to press and take some chances if they want to win this game. They can't play not to lose. They have to play to win.
Well, Paul, we take a look at this first half, and Syracuse got off to a very good start.
Senior Josh Amadon, typically a lefty, crushes that one righty. This is a bright spot all season long for Princeton. They strike back to make it 2-1 on the back of Tommy Schreiber with that great feed to Luke Armour. Senior to senior, Joel White to the All-American finisher, Stephen Keogh. Keogh wasn't done, though. You cannot leave him in front of the cage. He'll make you pay 28 in orange, the man in the middle.
And, Paul, look at the first half stats. Shots even. Princeton actually outshot them by 2. Face-offs, Syracuse with the edge. Syracuse 8 turnovers. That's probably one reason why this game is as close as it is right now. And saves, only 3 saves each. You know, we talked a lot about the 2 goalies coming into this game, John Galloway and Tyler Fiorito. Neither of them had their greatest first half, really. Each only 3 saves in the first.
And the way that tempo is really going in this game, neither goaltender has really been tested. There hasn't been a lot of up and down play. Princeton holding on to the ball, not really pressing. I think they know how important each possession is for them in this game.
And this possession important because it's going to kill off a 1-minute man down against Princeton. They come out of the halftime with possession, and they're going to be able to kill it off without even giving up the ball.
For those at home wondering why no face-off to start the third quarter, anytime there's an extra man opportunity, whether you are on the man advantage or not, the team who has possession at the end of the quarter or half retains it going into the next quarter.
And so that is why Princeton had it to start this second half. They've killed off the man down, and now they are back at even strength and looking to cut this to a 2-goal Syracuse lead. Syracuse undefeated on the year, 8-0, the #1 team in the country. They won last weekend in overtime against Duke. They played a lot of close games, and this one so far fairly low scoring. A pass picked off by John Galloway. Galloway, the outstanding Syracuse goaltender, read that pass and picked it right off, and now starts a clear for the Orange. Ball brought in by Joel White, the long stick midi. Quick passes to Keogh in front, a bounce shot, and Fiorito makes the save on Tim Desko. So Desko in front tried to bounce one past Fiorito, but Tyler was there.
And Desko had another second or two to really spot his place in front of the cage. Kind of fading away with that little underhand shot in front of the crease. That's typically a finish for Tim Desko. Square your shoulders, look at the cage, and make it count.
Back the other way, a big shot from outside. Went off the crossbar. Alex Capretta wound up and fired a shot there. And let's see whether this gets post or crossbar. It was the left crossbar, and it deflected all the way out of bounds.
Serious rip by Crepetta. Only a junior, though, 6'2", big boy, 205. Did a nice job of really getting that stick behind his shoulders to get serious torque.
And ESPNU's coverage of Old Spice College Lacrosse is going to continue next Saturday with a great doubleheader. At noon Eastern, it's number 9 Virginia taking on number 4 Duke. Then at 8 o'clock, number 3 Johns Hopkins facing number 5 Maryland. Some of the best teams and best programs in the country, Old Spice College Lacrosse, next Saturday. That'll be a great one. This one, of course, traditionally a great one. Princeton and Syracuse, two of the great programs in the history of college lacrosse. Syracuse having another one of those Syracuse-like seasons right now. Princeton, on the other hand, as we've talked about, coming in with a lot of injuries. They're 2-5, unranked at this point in the season. Very unusual to see a Princeton team not ranked at all, but it's all because of those multiple injuries we've talked about, and they need a win to keep their postseason hopes alive.
And they're back in a zone defense right now, the Tigers. You know, their strength is their defense and their goaltender, Fiorito. You're gonna have to press out at some point. You're down here 5-2. If the Orange put another one on the scoreboard, you're gonna have to get out of this zone, take some chances, not just defensively, but on the other end offensively as well.
And a shot from the right side as Javon Miller fired one on goal. Fiorito, who's heating up now, makes the save. So 2 straight saves for Tyler Fiorito.
Seen a lot of zone defense in college lacrosse. UVA for the first time in ages today in their 1-goal win.
And another save by Fiorito. The rebound comes right back to him in the crease. So Fiorito now starting to feel it. He denied Stephen Keogh that time, and it's 3 straight for Tyler.
Certainly heating up. You know, back to the zone though, Rob. Not a huge fan of a zone defense. I think it really slows the tempo of the game. I like it as a little bit of a mix-up type defense to throw a offensive team off guard. But to be your staple, it really promotes a very slow type of lacrosse that's not fan-friendly.
Ball on the ground. Princeton player there losing his stick. Chris McBride had it knocked out of his hands, but the Tigers able to gather it back. This is Capretta. Number 47, Hunter DeButts in the game. He's got the ball right now. First time we've seen him today. One of a number of Princeton players getting some extra playing time, and DeButts with a nice pass leading to a Princeton goal. He finds Mike Grossman, and it's a 5-3 game.
We knew DeButts would get an opportunity in his freshman campaign. The youngster making the most of it. At real speed right here against Drew Jenkins, the New Jersey product. What a feed by DeButts. Look at the vision, the head up, cross crease. That's the Achilles heel on a defense. You start your dodge, that backside's gonna be open. Grossman cashes in.
So Mike Grossman, his 3rd goal of the year, and that's what the Princeton Tigers will need to revive their season. Some guys like that, Hunter DeButts, a freshman, stepping up and contributing in the absence of so many outstanding offensive players, and Princeton able to get a quick face-off win as well, and they go right back to offense.
And this program isn't going anywhere. Obviously plagued by injuries in 2011. Youngsters like DeButts, and just saw Jeff Ficcaro, his brother Jake Ficcaro out of Port Washington, a junior midfielder on Long Island, a verbal commit to the Princeton Tigers, as is Sean Connors, playing for Deerfield Academy up in Massachusetts. So stockpiling some young talent to come to Princeton for years to come. This squad will get back.
That goal, the first goal for Princeton in over 13 minutes, so they get their offense back on track here, and now they get the ball off a face-off win. That was Jeff Ficcaro, number 10. His pass up to Capretta, hits the ground, but the rebound comes right to Princeton, and they score. Oh, a beautiful play, unsettled play looked like a broken play, but Princeton picks it up and they beat Galloway. Number 15, Chris McBride, his second goal of the game.
Opportunistic right here for McBride to get back in this game and to get some breaks later on in the season. Things have to roll your way. And if they're going to, get in the stick of your seasoned vets. Chris McBride, accustomed to cashing in.
And so Chris McBride, there you see his Sector Spider player portfolio, brought to you by Sector Spiders. And McBride, one of the co-captains of this team, 44 career goals. His cousin Jack, injured, out for the year. But the two of them have created quite a tandem for this Princeton team over the last couple of years.
And they come from a huge lacrosse family. Chris's older brother, Mike, was a standout at Harvard a few years back. Brother Matt from Georgetown. You mentioned the cousin, Jack McBride. Jack has a younger brother at Del Barton, J.J. McBride. He'll be a superstar someday as well.
Miller to Keogh, who fires a shot high. There you see Jack McBride, out for the year with a groin injury. He's got plenty of company over there on that Princeton sideline. Top players not suited up for today's game.
And they'd love to have the senior. Turns the corner better than anyone on this Princeton roster. Big righty dodger. Can get separation and create offense on his own, which is not a common theme with the rest of these players, really outside of Tommy Schreiber this season.
Fed in front, and a shot from Josh Amadon. He had a good position there, but couldn't get it on goal. It's backed up by Syracuse. There you see Tyler Fiorito barking out orders, directing this defense. Princeton right in this game. 2 straight goals for the Tigers. 2 goals scored in 1 minute and 4 seconds for Princeton, and that has gotten them right back in this, down only 1.
Another way to bust a zone if you have the outside shooters, guys like Amadon and Jeremy Thompson. You have to press the outside and then look inside to guys like Keogh.
Again, Amadon, low shot. Fiorito makes the save. Rebound, battled for, loose. Javon Miller in there for Syracuse. Ball flipped up in the air and picked up and sent back into the defensive end by Princeton. So good ground ball win there, and Chad Wiedemeyer will send it over to Fiorito to start this clear.
You know, Syracuse getting opportunities offensively against this zone. Couple wide shots, and then Fiorito making some big-time stops.
Fiorito, 4 saves in this 3rd quarter already. And I saw him pump his fist after one of those saves. He's getting into this now. I think he knows he has got his team in this game, and if he could stand on his head for a few more minutes here, who knows? This would be a massive, massive win for this Princeton team coming in at 2-5. It's DeButz again, who we saw assist on that Princeton goal.
I like him behind the cage. 47 in white, DeButz. You wouldn't think he's a freshman. Taking an assertive approach offensively.
Some new faces and new places for Princeton, and DeButz trying to provide a spark here for Princeton. His pass comes out top. And Princeton, they've got some flow going right now offensively. They're moving the ball well. We saw Forrest Sonnenfeld there, number 2. Not much of a dodger, Sonnenfeld, more of a shooter. Tried to get it back to DeButz, and now some trouble in the corner here, but nice job by DeButz as he wiggles his way out of that corner. And the stall warning is now going to go into effect against Princeton, so they'll have to keep it in the box. And the ball quickly knocked away by Syracuse. And right after that stall warning, Syracuse comes up with a turnover.
And if Syracuse wants to start dictating tempo in this contest, off of a loose ball on the defensive end, have to have your midfielders breaking, going downfield to create some transition and offensive opportunities. Get back into this 6-on-6 set.
Offside call going against Syracuse. So they get caught for an offside, and Princeton will get the ball right back.
Desko pleading his case, saying that he had a player back.
John Desko's had his issues with the officiating today, and he protests yet again, but to no avail. Princeton getting it back with a chance to tie it at home here. The Tigers looking to pull off what would be a major upset here. This is Capretta. Draws a screen and then gives it up. Tom Schreiber, the outstanding freshman, leading scorer for Princeton, number 22, gives it up. And now the ball goes high and wide. Tucker Shanley, I should say, fired that. They'll call it a shot, obviously, and it was backed up by Princeton.
If that shot got on Cage, it wouldn't have been much of a challenge for Galloway. Shanley, though, is an outside shooter. Time and room, he normally does let it rip.
Yeah, Paul, I thought it was a pass at first. It didn't look like he had a lot of conviction behind that shot, but luckily backed up by Princeton. Shot bounced wide there. Again, it was Tucker Shanley. 2 straight shots by Shanley, both missing the cage.
Winning goal a week ago against Brown, the sophomore.
Ball brought in on the far side. And a player goes down, and that's going to be a call against Syracuse, a trip call there. As number 16, Luke Armour, lost his footing, and the officials said he was tripped. So this is delayed call coming against Syracuse. Princeton can still hold it and score. But the ball goes out of bounds, and that's going to be a stoppage. So Princeton will go a man up, and we get another look at this call going against Syracuse. There you hear the call, 1 minute trip against the Orange.
Blatant trip on Guadagnolo from the Orange on Luke Armour. Just got it right between his legs, tripped him up. Good call by the officials. Looked like Tucker Shanley was shaken up on that last play too, and he's one of those players you want on the extra man, one of the better outside shooters for Princeton.
Second penalty of the game against Guadagnolo. Welcome to Old Spice College Lacrosse here on ESPNU. Princeton Tigers taking on Syracuse. A man-up opportunity here for the Tigers. I'm Rob Simmelcare along with Paul Carcaterra. As the Princeton Tigers, 2-5 on the year, trying to even this game at home against the number 1 team in the country, undefeated Syracuse Orange. Princeton has not been successful on the man-up so far today.
Not only have they lacked any type of real scoring threat on the man advantage, I don't think they've taken a shot.
There's a shot for you, but it was well high and wide. And 20 seconds left. Princeton will get it back. They're 0 for 2 on the man-up. Both of them, by the way, have been 1-minute man-ups for Princeton. So they have not taken advantage of some opportunities man-up. We mentioned earlier, one of the weaker teams in the country on man-up. That time they get a good shot on, but Galloway's able to make the low save. Rebound loose. Princeton's got a shot. Capretta there. He couldn't hold on, and now it goes out of bounds, and it's going to be Syracuse ball. It's actually number 8 there, Mike Grossman. You could see he was frustrated that he could not gather that in.
You have to get that ground ball. It's just a must. You look at this stage of the game, 2:40 left in the third quarter. A ground ball like that, if this turns into a possession for Syracuse, ultimately in a goal, those little things, attention to detail. Coach Bates mentioned it so many times.
Joel White in on goal, and a shot, save made by Fiorito. Joel White, the outstanding long stick midi, walked right in and fired a low shot on Fiorito. There's a good chance there for White. Fiorito has really stepped it up in this second half, makes the save, and that leads to another Princeton possession. Princeton's had the ball for most of the last 5 minutes. And they are taking their time. We saw one stall warning already put into effect against the Tigers. Alex Capretta backed his way in and now back out, and they'll work it around the perimeter.
I thought Princeton would have to take some chances to get back in this game. But if you look at the score now, possessions are huge. You're back in this game now.
And that was a possession that just disappeared as Joel White stepped out and intercepted a pass. So White making his presence known here. He fired a shot, then makes a steal and gets it right through midfield for Syracuse. 2 straight solid plays for Joel White. Now coming onto the field was Jeremy Thompson. He tried to feed a teammate but couldn't get it on goal. And it'll be Princeton ball. Coming up on a minute to go here in this third quarter, and Princeton trying to clear it. John Cunningham with a minute to go right through midfield for the Tigers. Cunningham with that long pole. Sent it off to Chris McBride.
That last possession for Syracuse. Typically in transition, that's their strength, where they can push and quick, efficient passes.
Now coming up on 30 seconds, Princeton a chance to tie. Schreiber scores! Tom Schreiber ties the game at 5.
I watched a ton of this kid growing up. Played for St. Anthony's, a power out in Long Island. Watched him multiple times in high school. The lax IQ off the charts. Such a great shooter. Look at the location here. Look at a game look right here. Capretta spots Schreiber, sets his feet and just lets it rip to the offside of John Galloway. Tigers are pumped.
And they should be. This team coming in at 2-5 has tied this game at 5 against the #1 team in the country. Syracuse undefeated, and they've got their hands full here at Princeton Stadium.
Righty goaltender, lower left. The toughest spot for Galloway to get to. Schreiber spots it.
And another chance here as we come to the close of this third quarter. Pass misconnecting there, ball loose, and John Galloway is going to take it and try to clear it. I think Syracuse right now will be happy just to get this quarter over with. Joel White loses the ball. It's loose. Schreiber's going to pick it up on the far side. He gets knocked out of bounds. No flag. A flag does come late, and so Princeton will be man up to start the fourth quarter. Schreiber, a hustle play and a needless hit there by Syracuse with less than 5 seconds to go. That's going to give Princeton a man up to start the fourth.
Mental mistake by the Orange. Take a look at this penalty. Brian McGill from Syracuse.
Well, Princeton has made quite a game of this. They've scored 3 straight goals, and they will be a man up when we start this fourth quarter. Syracuse has struggled. They've got their hands full here on the road. Tom Schreiber has tied it at 5. Back with the fourth coming up. 3 straight goals for Princeton in the third quarter. They outscored Syracuse 3-0. 3 goals in 10 minutes for the Tigers. And they have tied this game at 5 here at Princeton Stadium. The Tigers 2-5 on the year, trying to knock out the #1 team in the country, undefeated Syracuse Orange. And Princeton will start this fourth quarter a man up for 1 minute off of an illegal body check call right at the end of the third quarter. And the Tigers with possession, a big chance here to take a lead at home.
What looked like it might be a push with possession, which only would have been 30 seconds. Illegal body check. Brian McGill, 10 in Orange in the box for a minute.
Schreiber, who drew the penalty, fires a shot, and Galloway makes the save. John Galloway going up high. Galloway has not had one of his better days today, but he was equal to that high shot from Schreiber.
And it looked like Schreiber off that release. Wasn't too sure if he wanted to shoot or not. If you're going to let it rip, let it rip.
You see John Galloway coming all the way to midfield to try to help this Syracuse team clear. And a player goes down, and a flag's going to come against Princeton. So the flags flying left and right here. And that's going to end the Princeton man up, and it's going to give Syracuse most likely a man up of their own. See John Desko looking on.
We'll be all even for 10 seconds. But Wiedmeyer, they got him for a 30-second push. He could have been nailed for a cross-check there. You cannot make contact with that much of a shaft showing, spacing your two hands like that. Should have been a cross-check.
That is Wiedmeyer's second penalty of the game as well. He was called for an illegal body check 1 minute earlier in the game, so Wiedmeyer finding himself back in the box here, and we're going to get about a 20-second man up here for the Orange. Exactly 20 seconds. Let's see what Syracuse can do. They get the extra man on. Still looking for their first goal of this second half. Amadon to Tim Desko. Desko thought about it. Back to Amadon, back to even strength. Comes down for Keogh, who couldn't get much on that shot. It went wide, and we're back to even strength here. So Syracuse unable to get a shot on goal with that 22nd man up.
Now, if you're Princeton, don't be surprised to get back into that zone, because now you have the tempo you want. When you were down by 3, I thought you should have pressed a little bit. Now, it's a slow down tempo.
Amadon thought about it, then backed it out.
Might not be fun to watch. It's your best chance of winning.
Desko and Amadon at midfield. Now they send it underneath. Jojo Marasco, nice move in front. Shot, save made. I think it was deflected before it got on goal, and it's picked up by Fiorito. So Jojo Marasco made a nice move, but couldn't get much on the shot.
It's a great move by 22 in orange, just didn't finish. He had some time, a little pipe-to-pipe fake on Fiorito. When you're playing against the great ones, you have to move the goaltenders in tight. Fiorito went stick on stick with Marasco, low to low.
Even strength lacrosse here. Princeton was down 5-2 at halftime. They scored 3 straight in the third. Syracuse has not been able to find the offensive range here in this second half, and this is the kind of game Princeton wants now. A lot of full possession, sort of half-court sets, to use a basketball analogy. Here's Schreiber again, firing a shot, bouncing wide. Over 22 minutes now, by the way, since Syracuse scored a goal. McBride fans on the shot, lost it before he could get it on goal, and now Syracuse able to come away with it. Quickly working his way down is Kevin Drew on the clear, and Drew gets it into the box for the Orange.
So that's the situation if you're Syracuse. You might want to press there. Don't let Princeton get back into this zone defense. Push in transition. You have the athletes. Make a play between the 2 restraining boxes.
Instead, Drew decided to slow it down, and we're back to this zone defense here by Princeton. And Syracuse is going to take their time. Syracuse 8-0, though we've talked about how many close games they have played this year, and this is just another close game for this Syracuse Orange team. So we know they're used to it. Despite being 8-0, they are used to being in these tight spots. They just won in overtime last weekend against Duke, and a turnover here by the Orange as the pass was too high and it goes out of bounds. And ESPN News coverage of college baseball will continue later tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern time. LSU will take on their SEC rival Arkansas. Then Sunday at 5 Eastern, UC Irvine will face Cal State Fullerton. College baseball on ESPNU Saturday and Sunday this weekend. 12th turnover for Syracuse, gives the ball back to Princeton.
You let Villanova stay in the game 2 weeks ago with 18 turnovers. This Princeton Tiger team isn't going away when you're turning the ball over 12 times. That last basic exchange between Palisak and Desko has to be delivered.
This is DeButz behind the net for Princeton. He's been an impact player since entering the game, and a feed goes wide. Oh, good chance there. Nice feed by DeButz, but Mike Grossman, who's got a goal off a feed from DeButz, could not get that one on net, and now it's right back to Princeton here as Alex Capretta brings it in from the restart. Got to be impressed with what Hunter DeButz has done in this game. Two good-looking feeds, both to Grossman.
The freshman showing some vision separation. I expect him to be on the field the rest of the season.
A freshman from Alexandria, Virginia. He loses the ball this time, though. Had it poked away on a short stick defender. Tried to get it back with a hack, but couldn't do it. And Kevin Drew, off that nice defensive play, brings it right in. And again, we'll see Syracuse take their time. They thought about a quick shot. Instead, the ball coming back out to Jojo Marasco, and Marasco's got time and room. He fires the shot, but the save is made. Fiorito makes the save. Ball comes across the line out of bounds. It's Princeton ball.
Big time save by Fiorito. 3-year starter. 6 and white has seen everything. Mentioned earlier, statistically his best season of his career. Plays great fundamental goaltending. 7th save in the half too. Fiorito heating up.
Marasco tried to go 5-hole on him, but Fiorito was there, and he has been a big part of the Princeton resurgence here in this second half as they continue to hold Syracuse scoreless. Over 20 minutes and counting now since Syracuse has scored. Now Princeton a chance to take the lead here. At home, a big crowd on hand watching this Princeton team that has struggled so much with injuries. 2-5 on the year. They lost 4 straight at one point before bouncing back with a win in 4 overtimes last week against Brown. This time they turn it over, though. And the ball is going to come to Galloway, who's going to start this clear for the Orange.
Princeton has this game exactly where they want to. Hanging around, making it a fourth quarter game. A tempo that Syracuse isn't comfortable playing. This zone has put the Syracuse shooters in tough spaces. When you have a goaltender like Fiorito, and you're in this fourth quarter, you're clicking on that zone and your goaltender is playing his best lacrosse. These guys start getting confidence.
Paul, if you're John Desko, what do you tell your guys to do against this zone? What's the best way to attack it?
I think they need to change levels and move Fiorito more with their shooting.
Here's a chance and a score. Oh, a nice feed, a quick turnaround, and Syracuse has scored their first goal in over 20 minutes, and they are back on top, 6-5. Over 26 minutes without scoring comes to an end as Stephen Keogh nets his 3rd of the day.
Spot on, Stephen Keogh. I mentioned change levels. He falls, dips a little bit. I think Fiorito, if you saw his body, he goes low as well. 3-quarter release from Keogh. He stings it high.
Keogh firing off the shot as he was going down to his knees, and he just put it in a perfect place.
Great placement, and Keogh is traditionally a straight overhand shooter. Dipped the head of his stick a little bit. If you saw Fiorito at the approach, he was dipping low a little bit. Keogh stuck it high.
Ian Zito with the assist on the goal from Keogh. And Syracuse back on top. They have not trailed in this game. And now they get a quick face-off win as well.
Big-time face-off win by the freshman, Ricky Buer out of Manhasset.
Clean win to Javon Miller, and now Syracuse content to take a little time here. 7 minutes to go, a lot of time left in this game, but Princeton has slowed this down, and Syracuse has to feel that 1-goal lead. Feels a little bigger than just 1 goal, the way this game's tempo has been over the last quarter and a half.
If you're Syracuse here, keep attacking. Little under 7 minutes. Plenty of time for Princeton. Don't get caught up in your own little stall, being complacent with a 1-goal win.
Josh Amadon takes the high pass, fires a shot, bouncing through the crease, goes wide. Syracuse will keep it. I would think, Paul, even if Princeton's unable to win this game today, they've got to feel very good about the way they've played at home against this undefeated team. Chris Bates talked to us this week about how many new faces were in new places for this Princeton team. So many guys have had to step up and take on much bigger roles than were expected coming into the year. Ball on the ground, a couple of players hitting the floor and goes out of bounds. It's going to be Princeton still playing defense here as Syracuse will get it on the restart.
Princeton still in this zone defense. It's going to come a point in time in this fourth quarter. You got to press and go man. I think you stay in it for another minute or two. Been effective. Syracuse will have to start attacking the cage or they'll get a stall warning. But in the back of Coach Bates' mind, you got to think man-to-man soon.
Syracuse getting the possession here in this fourth quarter. One of the reasons why they've picked up 6 ground balls in the quarter to only 1 from Princeton. So they've won those ground ball battles here in this fourth quarter, and they've been able to keep possession because of that. Here's Javon Miller making a move, firing a shot. It was blocked. Never got on goal. He didn't have enough space for that shot, and so Princeton takes it back.
And that's exactly what the zone has been doing. Putting the Orange in tough angle shots and not converting. Then you have the goaltender in Fiorito.
And Princeton's going to take a timeout. So timeout called by the Tigers. Their first taking time out of this second half, and they come back down only 1, trying to pull off a big upset here at home against the #1 team in the country. Syracuse up 6-5 here on the road against Princeton. Princeton will have possession coming off this timeout with 4:47 to go in the fourth quarter. And Paul, one of the big reasons Princeton is in this game with a chance to pull off the upset is their goalie, Tyler Fiorito.
Well, when you're 2-5 and you're playing the #1 team in the country, you're going to get some big play out of your goaltender. And Fiorito's been brilliant all afternoon. Such a technical goaltender, takes up a big portion of the cage. You look at his saves, 10, but 10 huge saves. Tyler Fiorito has been on fire in the second half. 7 of the 10 saves coming in this second frame.
I think it's fair to say he's outplayed his counterpart, John Galloway, today. He's really been sharp. Galloway, of course, the all-time winningest goalie in the history of the NCAA as of last weekend. He won his 52nd all-time game, and so he is between the pipes here on this Princeton possession. The Tigers coming off a timeout, looking to tie this game at 6. Princeton at 2-5, looking for what would really be a season-defining win for them. They already have a win over a top team. They beat Johns Hopkins early in the year, but then the rash of injuries started, and they went into a swoon that only ended last weekend with a 4-overtime win against Ivy League rival Brown.
This win, it's really twofold. It gets you the quality win down the road you need, but it's confidence heading into this Ivy League stretch, playing teams like Cornell and Dartmouth. On paper, this season would be favored against you.
Shot going well high and wide there out of Jeff Friccaro's stick. Backed up by Princeton, 3:56 to go. The Tigers will quickly get it on this restart. Cliff Larkin, number 19, with the ball here for Princeton off the restart. To Luke Armour, and Armour will bring it out. Armour looking for a screen, instead goes to his left, picks up a screen from Tom Schreiber, and a call is going to come against Princeton as the stick got up high on Armour, And so a call will come against Syracuse. Princeton's going to get a man up, but in the meantime, Armour gets it to Schreiber. Delayed call here, so Princeton can play as long as they want until Syracuse touches it, and they do touch it as the ball comes onto the stick of John Galloway. We will get a man-up chance here for Princeton and a chance to tie it.
Orange, number 10. Orange, number 10. Slash, 1 minute personal foul.
So the 1 minute call going against Brian McGill.
Take another look. 1 minute slash.
Oh, yeah.
I got him right in the head.
I mean, there's no, you got to call that 10 times out of 10. That is a dangerous play with the long stick by McGill. You see him getting a talking to from his coach over there. That's his second penalty of the game. And meanwhile, Princeton 0 for 4 man up. And these 0 for 4, by the way, have all been 1 minute opportunities. So Princeton has got to figure it out here on the man up. And now is the time to do it as we come under 3 minutes to go in this game.
Two playmakers, 15 and 22 in white. Senior McBride, 15, 22, the freshman.
There's a shot by Fracaro, but Galloway there for the save. And I don't know if that's the shot you want with a 1 minute. It wasn't a terrible shot, but against a goalie like Galloway with a clear vision of that shot, he had no trouble with the save.
And clear vision being the focal point of that save here. No traffic. It wasn't like he was being screened in the middle. That was stick on stick for Galloway, too easy.
And so off the save, Syracuse able to kill off the 1 minute, and that may be a defining moment in this game for Princeton. As they had that 1 minute, they settled for the outside shot. Galloway makes the save. 30th shot of the game that was for Princeton, by the way, 27 for Syracuse. So Princeton's had their shots all day, but Galloway that time had a good look.
No, that's a great stat, too. You could say, why isn't Syracuse pushing?
Here's a chance. Quick turnaround move there and a point-blank opportunity for Marasco, but he sent it wide.
People accustomed to seeing Syracuse put up huge numbers. You don't expect them against a slow-down team like Princeton this year getting outshot. I think a lot of people felt Princeton might have stalled a bit in that first half. They're out shooting the Orange right now.
Syracuse will take a timeout here with 1:29 to go in possession. John Desco's team looking to stay undefeated. They got 1:29 to go 9-0. 1:28 to go in this fourth quarter. Syracuse clinging to a 6-5 lead against Princeton, the #1 team in the country, looking to stay undefeated. They're in possession coming off this timeout, Paul. So the question is, can Princeton get the ball back?
They'll have to press, take some chances defensively. We saw Syracuse once again getting that type of goaltending down the stretch, though. John Galloway, we take a look at this last save on Jeff Fracaro. Fracaro plants his feet, changes his levels, does everything you're asked to of a shooter. But Galloway with a clean look as we roll this. Stick on stick. High to low, Galloway all over it. It's a big-time stop.
That's why he's the all-time winningest goalie in the history of NCAA lacrosse. John Galloway coming up with a big save when his team needed it there. Killing off a man-up opportunity for Princeton, and now John Desco's Orange. They're going to look to hold on to this ball and keep this game at 6-5. Meanwhile, Princeton's got to press, and we'll see what they do with the goalie here, Fiorito. He'll surely come out to try to help press and get the ball back on the restart.
Looks like Syracuse gives it to their fastest player, Kevin
Wow,
Drew.
they get an open goal, an open net goal, as number 19, Kevin Drew, just curled around. Fiorito was out of net trying to help press the ball, and that is not obviously what Princeton wanted to see on that restart. Good move by Drew, just seeing the open net and putting it right in.
Well, he's their speedster, so if you have to escape a double team, that's the guy you want. 19 in orange. I think falling had something to do with him taking that shot, because I bet Coach Desco said no shots, because you don't want to run the risk of of a Princeton player maybe snagging the ball, Fiorito getting back in cage and giving them another opportunity. But in that specific instance, you have to shoot the ball. You're falling. It's either a turnover or a shot.
And Syracuse comes up with the face-off as well. So a 2-goal lead now for Syracuse and possession as we come up on the 1-minute mark.
You know, up one, the risk of scoring the goal is you put the ball back at the face-off X. You give Princeton opportunities. Princeton's to win 2 face-offs. It's a tie ball game if they can get penetration. So that's why goals, even on empty nets, aren't always the smartest things.
Princeton had it there on a turnover momentarily, but the whistle gives it back to Syracuse, and so they now have a chance to try to kill off the remaining 52 seconds. Quickly, Princeton doubles the ball, and they get the ball back on the ground, and coming away with it, Long Ellis for Princeton. Back to Fiorito, who's way out of net now, getting tangled up with Javon Miller behind the ball. Quick pass to McBride in front, knocked away, and so Syracuse able to come up with the interception, ball back on the ground. And it's, again, Jeremy Thompson coming up with it. So Thompson, who's been outstanding today on the ground balls and the clears, fires it across. Meanwhile, a flag behind the play, and I did not see that. I think Javon Miller might have gotten into some sort of a mix-up behind the play. Let's listen to this call.
Looks like 2 penalties. Javon Miller going out with an unsportsmanlike conduct, retaliation. Princeton's Connor Riley looked like he got an illegal body check on Miller, or a push with possession. We get another look at it. So he goes, Miller retaliates.
And so it'll be a 1-minute man-up opportunity for Syracuse. Only 16 seconds left in this game. That's just going to help them kill off the final 16.
They didn't give Miller the penalty. It was just Riley. Because if it's a retaliation flag, what happens is the team that retaliates does not get the ball. Princeton would have gotten the ball if it was a retaliation foul.
And that's going to do it. So the Syracuse Orange stay undefeated. It was not easy, but they come away with a 7-5 win on the road at Princeton, and they go to 9-0 on the year. So a game that was closer than a lot of folks might have expected with the records coming in. But Paul, a big win for Syracuse and a good loss, if there is one, for Princeton.
Well, Princeton regroups. They played some younger players down the Ivy League stretch of their schedule. I think this game pays dividends. Syracuse outshot by Princeton here today. Offensive questions continue to loom for the undefeated, ranked #1 team in the nation.
Once again, our final score from Princeton Stadium at Syracuse 7, Princeton 5. Coming up next, we'll send you to our Sports Center U studio with Lowell Galindo. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Paul Carcaterra, I'm Rob Simmelcare, saying so long from Princeton, New Jersey. Syracuse staying undefeated. They win at Princeton 7-5. We'll see you next time.